It's whatever. He's just a 500. Are these speed runs ethical? I don't know. Are these speed runs needed? I think so, honestly. Let's keep on going. So we got a 576 here. But then a 130. That makes me feel good. I still won 6 and you're 2600. All right. So my repertoire is usually doing a Sicilian. Yes, they are very ethical. At that level, you can barely recognize patterns and tactics. You're just beyond learning how pieces moves. Yet that is true. And I was always wondering what happens.
Elaborate on if you think speedrun or ethical.
Elaborate? Is speedruns ethical? Because what if somebody's like, okay, this is gonna be my last game. What if somebody's like, this is going to be my last game on chess.com. If I don't win it, then I'm quitting chess forever. And then they play against like a speedrunning account. That would actually make me feel very sad. Like, do they get a message after playing me saying, hey, you was facing a speedrunning account and this guy's actually 2300? I don't know. I don't know.
Instant ban just followed.
Thank you, Instant ban, for following. I appreciate it. For every player that gets crushed, 5 laugh. That is true. That is true. Chess, bruh. So they're going for some grand pre-attack, which is cool. I'm just gonna do knight to c6. This is what I usually play against the grand pre-attack. Just developing pieces like normally. So they can go 2 ways. They could go to g3, bishop g2 way, or the bishop to b5 way, in which they decided to do knight to f3, which kind of urges me to do this e5 move, which I love playing like the closed Sicilian structures. This is kind of my forte. And they decided to do d3, so I'm guessing they're going to be fianchettoing on the king side here. If they're fianchettoing on the king side, then I'm going to fianchetto on the king side. He's scared of them. Yeah, Caden don't like speed runs. Ah, come on, Caden. He's scared of getting whooped by...
We got to run it back soon so we can finalize the adoption forms.
Nah. Not finalizing anything. We can run it back anytime, but we're not finalizing no adoption forms. Now, what our opponent is doing is called a premature attack. I accused of cheating once. I had like a 99 accurate game, but they lost in like 8 moves. Yeah, that's generally what happens. How do I play you? I'm doing the speed run right now. It'd be hilarious if you run into Hikaru's Smurf account. That would be hilarious if he was up this late. So usually if our opponent is doing a premature attack, I actually like to test our opponent to see if they're going to go ahead and take this pawn on f7. Because most people in this level probably does take the pawn right here. But if they just go back, they're admitting defeat. They're basically admitting defeat. And they went back to even a worse square. Even though this could be an idea, though. They could be planning on doing the move f4 in this position. They could plan on doing a move like f4 in this position. But what if I do d6? If they do f4, then I'm going to be taking this knight and then doing a move like queen to h4 next, attacking this king along this diagonal. What are they doing over here? What are these last few moves that our opponent did here? They're a waste of moves. My challenge with speedruns is that these players have just as much chance against a strong player as someone using stockfish. That is true, especially in a rapid game like this. My opponent could be using stockfish, but at the same time, hey, I see Daniel all the time smash opponents cheating. So maybe I could be on my Danya. And if I gain rating points, then that can actually be some good content on my YouTube channel. As long as he can be relaxed in his room playing. So in this position, our opponent already has double pawns, but they could potentially have some activity along the G file. And I still have to be careful. Because they can like develop their pieces and castle queenside too. So let's do bishop g7 just to figure out what our opponent is doing. If they push up the f pawn, then we definitely still have queen to h4. I think the rules are, if you're doing a speed run, you've got to tell chess.com and they refund the rating back at the end of the speed run. Yeah, that is true. So this is a chess.com account, and I did contact them on setting my rating ELO to 500. All right. So we got this move knight to d5. And to me, this is a weird move because our opponent literally isn't developing any one of their pieces. And so we're just going to play naturally, do a move like knight g to e7. I know 500 don't have plans, but I'm just saying, I'm basically giving you a reason why you should have plans if you are at 500. Knight takes. Knight takes. Now, our knight is doing pretty well on a d4 square, but they could potentially get rid of that knight. I don't think I'm doing the best moves here. I probably should have castled. Okay, so they are using the G file. They are using the G file for some activity. So if I castle kingside, then I could be into some trouble. Let's do queen f6 though. And now we got some threats of actually doing knight to f3. If they do a move like bishop g2 or bishop e2, then they definitely know what they're doing. Maybe. Maybe. Yeah, it's all good. I'm just curious. People's different takes on it. Yeah, I got plans. They have no development. That is true. They don't have any development but the rook on g1. But potentially they could get development. Remember, development is temporary. And so if I don't do the right moves at this moment, then I could lose. And which that is a fork. Out of... I didn't even see the move that they did until they... So out of all the moves that this opponent could have done here, out of all the piece moves that they could have done here, they decided to do a4 out of every single move. I digress. Let's continue on with the game. Okay, so we get a free rook. Free rook on g1. Pawns can be scary, I know, but, you know, not that scary. The knight goes back. The knight goes back to check the king. Overthinking? Never underestimate the ability of a 500 chess player to accidentally make the right move. That is true. That's why I'm treating these games very seriously. Because I could have a smurf. I could have a smurf in this position. Knight to d4, maybe queen h4. Potentially like pinning this diagonal. Actually, probably just castle. Let's just get every piece into the game. So this is going to be our next plan, our next few moves. It's going to be rook a to e8, queen h4, f5, e4. That's our next plan. And we're going to finish all of those. No, you're not. B queen. All right. Is that a good plan? Okay, so we're not even going to move the bishops at all in this match. We're just going to move the rooks and pawns. And knights. This player really loved their knights. I don't want to do queen h4 actually, because they could potentially do a good move and do like queen g4. And then we would trade queens. And I want to get rid of this. Like, I want to win this game as fast as possible. So let's do queen e7 instead. Let's do queen e7 instead. I've lost on time a lot of times. Knight h2, play games, but use your time more wisely. Think out your moves more. That is true. You got to think out your moves more, especially to avoid doing moves like that. A4 is kind of crazy. A4 is kind of crazy. So, like I said before, you know, what did I just say? What did I just say? I knew they was thinking about this move, queen g4. I knew it. I'm thinking, though, I could just push up this e-pawn. What's the fastest way to checkmate? The fastest way to checkmate is probably, let's just disrespect our opponent. Let's do e4 and then f4. And they could potentially capture this pawn on g6. It's going to get kind of dangerous, but Our checkmating possibilities is endless. What time is it there? It is 1:40 a.m. 1:40 a.m. You also should know your puzzle rating will always be higher than your game rating. That is true. I get made fun of a lot for losing that ELO while being good at puzzles. Yeah, that just means you got to figure out how to get it. Why? Okay, that's just a free rook. We take those. So they know how to defend against checkmating patterns, but they are still losing. That E4 move kind of scared them a little bit. It scared them a little bit. Always a little wary of doing that. What do you do about the D5 square? Did I miss that? Was that last game? I'm thinking that was last game. I think right here we could just trade all the pieces. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. We're just gonna blitz out these next few moves. I think y'all get the point of why you shouldn't play like this. We're gonna be like Hikaru for a minute.
Expedient imperfect just followed.
All right, we're gonna play like Hikaru for a minute. I'm thinking, depending on where they go. Okay, good game.